Every time I return home from a beautiful location, I tend to long for it after a few days, almost as if an emotional bond was formed. Just a week after I got back from photographing birds in the countryside, I couldn't resist going there once more. This revisit became a bird photography marathon where I photographed as many species as I possibly could in one single day. This trip taught me a few life lessons, and it also reminded me of the effects that time has on all that lives. Stay tuned for the photographs and the many stories behind them. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kenneth Lawrence, and it's time to take you on yet another adventure. With my destination being 200 kilometers away, I left home at 3 in the morning to reach in time for the glorious country sunrise. This mist will soon dissipate and life here will awaken. Within minutes of reaching the grasslands, I had my first sightings of grey francolins, and they were incredibly close to me. They ran across the dirt road before jumping onto a branch and positioning themselves at my eye level. This was their morning preening session, and they made me a welcomed guest. I wasn't able to capture francolins during my last visit here, so this was a great start to the day. Many birds and animals have evolved with a remarkable strategy of survival. This is the art of camouflage at its finest. A few yards away was another smaller little bird, and he was up for breakfast. This is a juvenile purple sunbird, and he's spoilt for choice with the many nectar-bearing flowers surrounding him. It's the avian equivalent of a child in a candy store. Shooting from inside the car was the only way to ensure that I didn't spook away my subjects. I noticed some plum-headed parakeets outside my window, but I wasn't able to photograph them because of the restrictive interiors. Getting out on foot was risky, but I had to give it a shot. Using tree cover to hide my presence, I walked a few hundred meters until I found a decent spot to set up my camera. I normally shoot video and stills on my 5D Mark IV, but this time I took along the 1DX Mark II as well. It shoots 4K in 60 frames per second, and that slow motion is just perfect for moments like these. A quick shout out to Accord Equips for sending me this camera and supporting the channel. They're one of the most dependable equipment rental companies in India, and they were happy to make this video a possibility. I was now on the lookout for the painted francolin. I could hear its calls loud and clear, but pinpointing its exact location was a little tricky. If this wasn't a bird photography marathon, I'd spend a longer amount of time in tracking it. There were other birds waiting to be photographed, and time was running out. As I was heading towards the car, I came across a Baya weaver's nest. Even though I filmed and photographed them in the last video, I wanted to see if there was a different moment that I could capture. I had a slow motion camera with me now, so why not? And boy, was I in for a surprise. This male Baya has completed the main structure of his creation. The chamber on the left will serve as a nursery for his chicks, and the incomplete portion on the right is where he'll build a long cylindrical entrance to the nest. Arriving with multiple blades of grass will help him reduce the frequency of flights to collect them. This time, something didn't seem very right. He looked around for signs of danger, but there was no real threat that he could spot. Yet, driven by strong instincts, he reinforced the weavings in the top of his nest. This suspended junction is the most crucial part of the structure, and it will define its test of time. When the Baya was off to fetch more grass, the intruder had showed up. A juvenile male. His nest building skills are far from perfect, and he's reekingly jealous of the other males who have arrived in life. Could he be trying to steal this nest? Nope. His jealousy has turned into malice, and he has something else on his mind. He wants to dismantle this nest. He cannot pull out the blades of grass that have dried out, but he can pull out the ones that are still fresh. Complex displays of emotions have evolved throughout the animal kingdom, and so have the instincts to protect what is yours. Biting off more than he could chew, the juvenile had fled the scene. Without breaking a sweat, the owner reclaimed what was rightfully his. In the wild, survival of the fittest knows no conscience. After the brief episode of drama, I was back on my way to photograph the other bird life. Satisfied with my time in the grasslands, I set out for the sunflower fields because they'd make for incredible photographs. About an hour later, I reached the Sunflower Valley, hoping to capture some of the day's best moments. Unfortunately, the element of time was against me. In just 7 days, the sunflower field had gone from a full bloom to a near graveyard. This is what it looked like last week, and here's what it looked like now. I was a bit disheartened, but there was nothing that I could do about it. It's moments like these that remind you that life is finite, and in that finite time, it is fragile. It is only because of death and loss that we can cherish life and the living. There was one more location to visit, and that was the Pearl Millet Plantation, where I had shot the vernal hanging parrot. I was hoping that my luck would change there, and it did, but not for the better. The fields were completely barren by the time I got there. These bajra crops had reached their time of harvest a few days after my first visit, and now they were gone. Lucky for me, the neighboring field wasn't pulled down yet, and here's everything that it had to offer. Time really doesn't wait for anyone. It's unforgiving and it changes everything in its path. The only way to beat it is to anticipate what lies ahead of it. I drove a total of 400 kilometers. I didn't know how my day was going to be, but I managed to take back some incredible memories. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Your support is going to help me build this channel and community and take it a long, long way. See you in the next one.